Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back to Rise and Shine College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of Hall of Fame college football. Well, another day, another national media outlet missing the full picture on Oklahoma football, ladies and gentlemen. The Athletic says the Sooners are falling in the SEC after the winter portal window. I say, have they even checked the stats before they write this shit? So let's talk a little bit about this. Obviously, the main things that what we're finding in this deal, which is, I find it quite funny, to be honest with you. Well, I'll just bring it up for you. It says, yes, the Sooners signed Washington State quarterback John Mateer, the number 2 player in the portal, according to 247 Sports. But there are too many losses to ignore. Oklahoma lost 26 players to the portal, with 19 signing with Power 4 programs. 3 were in the top 100. Quarterback Jackson Arnold of Auburn, wide receiver Nick Anderson, LSU, and linebacker Deshaun McCullough, who went to Nebraska. And they're saying Mateer is the only top 100 addition. It's also notable that 10 of Oklahoma's 15 portal additions are from Group of 5 or FCS. How many of these players making the jump turn out to be contributors? That will be a storyline to follow in 2025. Now, yeah, they lost key players, quote unquote, like Arnold, Nick, and Deshaun. The question is, they were key players at what point in 2024? You know, and then only the talking about that they only brought in group of 5 or FCS players, and then of course that they're falling behind in the SEC. I find it kind of funny, right? Let's talk about the first. Let's talk about the first thing that they're talking about here. Jackson Arnold to LSU. Now, claiming that he is a big hit to Oklahoma's future is kind of hilarious to me. Arnold's numbers at OU were 1,421 passing yards with 12 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. But what you're not seeing here on this ESPN stat line is, well, 3 turnovers in the first half versus Tennessee, 3 interceptions and a fumble in the Alamo Bowl loss to Arizona the year before that, and all in all, 13 total turnovers in 10 games played for Oklahoma. Now, you got to compare this to John Mateer, that group of 5 guy. 44 total touchdowns in 2024 while at Washington State. He's a proven dual threat option with better ball security. You didn't really lose a quarterback. They upgraded at quarterback, if you ask me. I mean, take a look at it, guys. It's pretty simple to see it. Mateer, he completed 64.6% of his passes, 3,139 yards, 29 TDs passing, 7 interceptions. Obviously, rush wise, 178 for 826 yards on the ground, along with 15 more touchdowns, guys. That's 44 touchdowns in 2024. I mean, it's not hard to see. It's just not hard to see. The truth is, JFA, again, 3 turnovers in the first half against Tennessee. Both, and 2 of those 3 were at times when the defense had just turned over Tennessee in plus territory and had an opportunity to go down there and win that football game. Had Michael Hawkins been playing earlier, they probably do win. And with 13 total turnovers in 10 games played for Oklahoma, I don't know how it's not just a net positive for your Sooners. to be getting John Mateer. Now, let's go back to this other deal. Obviously, talking about wide receiver Nick Anderson, and we'll get to Deshaun in just a second as well. But when you look at these guys that are the portal wide receivers and what you lost here, right? This is what you lost as far as your cumulative total for the whole group. With Andrell Anthony, obviously, BT, Brennan Thompson, our guy Nick, and then Jalil Farouk, along with Jaquez Petaway. 41 receptions total, 690 yards, 3 touchdowns, with a long of 56. That 2 of those touchdowns were, of course, Brennan Thompson's. You know, it, it's pretty wild to me. Pretty wild to me. Anyway, 3 touchdowns, 56. A 56-yard touchdown being the longest one. Now, if you start looking at some of these other guys, here's one of the transfers in. He doesn't come from a G5. This is just Josiah Martin. He had 12 receptions, no touchdowns, but he, averaged 9.3 yards per as a freshman at Cal. Isaiah Sategna, 2024, he played at Arkansas, 37 receptions, 491, 13.3 per, and he had a touchdown. He had, aside from touchdowns, he had more production than the whole group by himself. Keontez Lewis, 49 receptions, 790 yards last year at Southern Illinois. 5 touchdowns. He averaged 16.1 yards per reception. He had more production a year ago than the whole group. Giovanni Gibson, FCS player, yes, but 70 receptions, 1,215 yards, 17.4 yards per reception, 9 touchdowns with the 60-yarder in there. By himself, times 6 what they had. Times 6. Deion Burks. Now, of course, in only playing 5 games in 2024, 31 receptions, 245 is right up there with what they had. And, of course, the 3 touchdowns. That was him being hurt for the better part of the season, right? He played in 5 games total. The year before that, he had I guess I didn't put that one out there, but the year before that, he had even more. I think it was I'll go back and take a look, but I'm pretty sure it was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 40-something receptions. He had 600 plus yards total, 9 touchdowns that year. But again, going back to the portal wide receivers that left, 690, 3 touchdowns total. And you look at a guy like Nick Anderson, he didn't play but one half of one game. One half of one game. Andrell Anthony never got on the field. Jalil Farouk played the first few plays of the first quarter of the first game, had a big catch. We didn't see him much again. He did play again in the Missouri game. He was injured most of the season, got re-injured right then. So when you look at this, what are we talking about here, guys? What are we talking about here? The perception is not reality, though. And that's the whole point. Now, if we move on to, let's see. Let's talk about Deshaun McCullough. The claim is obviously that it's a big hit. It hurts OU's defense, a defense that, was in the top 20 of the biggest categories, the most important categories. They were number 1 in the SEC in defensive efficiency and defensive touchdowns. They ranked top 20 nationally in 9 different defensive categories. Look, Deshaun's a good player when he was healthy, but defense was not the issue here. He only appeared in 5 games. it last year. I think everybody knows that he's a guy that everybody wanted to bring back. He's a guy that they would have enjoyed bringing back. But in the end, with the way that things went last year, they were going to have to move guys out. You had obviously the portal stuff. Uh, I think out of the 25 guys that they lost in the portal, most of those guys were told you should probably go and get in there because you have to make an impact this year if you're Brent Venables. The real problem with OU in 2024, and I mean, this is why I just say, it's a terrible take because the real problem with Oklahoma in 2024, it wasn't portal losses. It was injuries decimating key positions like, wide receiver and offensive line, especially a terrible offensive coordinator with dysfunction all around the room, one dimensional attack that put too much pressure on an inefficient quarterback named Jackson Arnold. The solution, really, OU's already upgraded at quarterback, and they're going to adjust their play calling with Ben Arbuckle as well. Talking about him, Arbuckle had huge year for him. The last 2 years actually have been great for Arbuckle, where let's see, he was last year anyway. Let's just talk about last year. I'll bring that up. They averaged 33.8 points per game, which was ranked 15th in the country. Yards per game 426.7. That's 28th in the country. Points per play, number 11th in the country. It's half a point per play that they ran. And yards per play was 6.4 yards per play, which ranked 13th in FBS overall. That's your upgrade right there. As far as the Sooner defense is concerned, we've talked a lot about that. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk the last few weeks because of the whole thing with Knowles. But the truth is, they were already lighting it up everywhere anyway, as it was. Let's see. Let me go back to this where I was at on that. As I said, they had. Yeah, I mean, Deshaun had 17 total tackles, 10 solo tackles on the year. Like I said, he's a good player, but when you're top 20 in the country in 9 defensive categories, and you probably got better, better than the number 1 defensive efficiency team in the SEC. Losing a role player at linebacker isn't really a reason to claim that Oklahoma's falling. It just ignores the full picture. Portal departures don't matter when they weren't producing anyway, guys. Oklahoma didn't lose a quarterback. They upgraded at a quarterback. The Sooners defense remains elite, and the offensive portal additions will be better than lackluster 2024 production that saw them rank in the 100s pretty much in everything. They were 128th in total offense, 116th in scoring offense. It can't get worse. The national media has been lazy on OU's transition to the SEC, so don't let them control the narrative. Let me know what you think. We're going to jump in here with and bring my guy and my Monday co-host into the show. Let me get there. Mike Boganowski. What's up, big dog? I think you're muted. You are muted. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Bro, you muted me. I don't mute.
Oh, my bad. My bad.
I need everybody to hear everything that goes on in the real house. You know what I mean? Dogs running around. You know, wife working, yelling at me because I'm too loud because she's on a call. I need people to hear. It's real out here. All right, it's real
Yeah.
out.
What's up, man? What's up, everybody? I wanted to get through all that before I started talking to anybody in here. Glad everybody showed up with us.
I'm over here writing notes, bro. I was taking notes, writing like stuff I got to say because this is some bullshit, and I gotta make sure I get these off here. You know what I mean? Can't
Go
forget
for
them.
it. Well,
We
tell us what
will.
you think. I mean, and that's the thing. we're getting comments about perf- the perception isn't going to change until the performance makes them change. But the bottom line is, guys, do some actual work. Do some actual work as a journalist. Know what the hell you're saying. Tell me what you were saying. Tell them what you were saying as before we came on
I mean,
about.
so here's like, okay, it's like kicking a dog when they're down, right? And it's okay. Go ahead and get your kicks in. Because when we stand back up and we start biting back and fighting back, we ain't trying to hear it, man. We ain't trying to hear it. It's lazy and it's an easy pile on by the media, right? They leaving out key facts, man. You know, everybody, they leave out key facts to fit their narrative and their spin, right? That Oklahoma's on a down spot, or they can't adjust and they can't pull up. They're gonna crash and burn. Like, bitch, please. All right. But what they don't tell you is everybody has to get their numbers down. You know what I mean? Everybody has to get their numbers down, whether they're doing it now in the winter portal or they're gonna do it in the spring. You know what I mean? Oklahoma chose to get out in front of it. So, I mean, do your homework, national media and whoever that was you said it was, don't even care because their shit's weak.
Yeah, it was
All right.
the athletic, and they're supposed to be like the best of the best. That's New
That's
York
what I'm
Times.
saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, come on, man. Like, give it, give. Like, I always come back to like it's a spin, like O'Reilly's show, right? The spin factor. You know what I mean? The no spin zone or some shit. That's what I can't get that out of my head these days. But he was on it. He was on it back in the day. You know what I mean? I used to watch that joint in college. It used to make me laugh.
Yeah.
But I got some more stuff here. I got some more notes. Right? As goes as far as a quarterback, right? Like Jackson Arnold turned the ball over way too much, right? And here's my overarching theme of my
13 turnovers in 10 games.
here's my overarching theme in my next few comments. All right, the money wasn't right, right? And if you guys don't think about that, bro, you have to think about this. Money is a factor. As much as we all hate to admit it in college athletics, money is a factor.
Yeah.
But the amount of money, and I don't know what the number was, but I don't. He was getting paid too much to turn the ball over like he did. Okay, and
To be
that,
playing, he was turning the ball over too fucking much. What do you
that
mean?
shit ain't gonna fly, bro. At any level, the NFL, high school, you know what I mean, college, that shit is not flying. You cannot put the ball on the ground, right? And we have a running back that's supposed to be the real deal, and hopefully he gets that fixed because he's going to be in the same position if he doesn't stop putting the ball on the ground. And I hope by God, he fixes that, man, because the dude can be electric.
Oh,
All
dude.
right.
Yeah.
And my last thing with Jackson Arnold is we have to stop, you know, living off the high school ranking when they get to college. Like, how long does that? He was a 5-star. He was. You know what I mean? That you
Mhm.
guys say it all the time. He was a 5-star. He's a 5-star. He was a 5-star. Now he's in college.
At what point did he ever play like a 5-star at Oklahoma?
But what I'm saying is you cannot those expectations, in my opinion and how I view it, that shit dies when you go to college because it's a different beast. Like you cannot keep living off your high school rankings or you'll never get past that or be better. If you just kill, he was a 5-star, he's a 5-star, I'm a 5-star, who cares? It's never going to continue and you're never going to get better. It needs to dead that shit needs to get dead after high school. All right. Now I want to talk about Desan, right?
Mm.
Hell of a player,
Love
loved
the song.
Desan. He was
Love the
violent as hell and he had bad intentions every time he come to the ball, right? Um, but he just really what Desan does well is he is an outside linebacker, like edge rusher, stand up edge rusher, right?
Mm.
Tall, lengthy, fast, And that's just not what we do at Oklahoma on the edge, right? And I think it was a mutual decision that he wanted to go somewhere where he would be able to do that, right? In his last year of eligibility to go to the league.
Right.
And again, it probably comes down to money. The production just wasn't there, in the last year for him to warrant sticking around. And it was just kind of a mutual decision from what I see on the outside looking in with Deshaun. Like, love the kid. Hope he does well at Nebraska. I've talked to my people up there about him. And they're super excited for him. But at the end of the day, man, he probably, as an outside rusher or a linebacker like that, he probably wanted some money, and maybe that had a factor in it. All right.
Yeah.
But I don't know, but
I don't think
that's
it had a huge fact. From what I understand, I think it was one of those deals. You heard what BV said at the end of the year, or when he was introducing Arbuckle, when he brought him in, and he was saying, "Look, we're about to have some tough conversations with people that I don't want to have them with."
100%. That's
And he
100.
was one of them. It was clearly he was one of them because he
Yeah,
ended up in the portal shortly thereafter and
yeah,
ended up gone shortly thereafter. Is he a great player? Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. And I have nothing but respect for Deshaun McCullough. The point I was making is 17 total tackles, 10 of them being solo tackles,
yeah.
isn't really enough. And it doesn't mean that he wasn't great. Here's the thing though. If that's what you're getting, this defense was good. He played in 5 games. It wasn't really because of what he did or didn't do that made them be ranked what they were and be one of the better defenses or the most efficient defense anyway in the SEC.
And he was just out of position. You
I
know
think
what I mean? He was
yeah,
playing cheetah a lot, and
and that's not really
he's
his spot. Yeah,
just not where he needed to be.
no,
And it was just he was in that position out of necessity for most of the year. I mean, thank God he was still there. When Dolby got hurt, we had a guy that could come in and pick up some slack that had some experience there. All right, but I'm going to move on to our receivers, right?
yeah,
And you put up the stats. I don't know if you want to pop those up again or whatever, but you know, the here's where we're winning, right? And the athletic doesn't talk about the underlying issue, right, with money, right? Because that's what it's about now. Like I already said it. Maybe as much as we don't want to admit it, but money and payroll is what it's about, right? I mean, there it is, right there. Like I don't know how much money is combined with those five gentlemen right there, but 41 receptions for 690 and three tutties.
yeah,
Whatever they're paying those dudes was way too much, right?
yeah,
And at the end of the day, it's coming down to money. You know what I mean? And we seen some stuff, especially on social media. As soon as the portal opened, people looking better than ever and feeling great. And it doesn't lend them credibility that they were really down for the university and Oklahoma Sooners. And the got to trim some of the fat, man, and reallocate that money because we got dudes that are coming off the edge that we wanted to keep and we needed to pay them. Yeah,
yeah,
we got dudes on the interior of the defense that we had to pay because we wanted to keep, and those dudes, whether it was they were hurt or they didn't want to burn a year of eligibility but still collect the check. I don't know. It is what it is. I don't know if we'll ever know the whole story unless one of those dudes talks about it. But I think you heard it one of the times on Oklahoma Breakdown with Teddy and Gabe. Like it's a factor, man, and people are tired of it. And you gotta earn your money. And that was I mean the wipers, like the numbers wise, it wasn't a loss, right? In fact, I think we're looking better in the wide receivers, what we're paying them and per player, it's a win in the overall arching aspect of Oklahoma football roster construction and money. It's a win. It's a win in the wide receiver room because it looks like we got a couple dudes that are hungry, right? We got some dudes that are big, physical, and fast, and now we just it needs to translate over to the game field, right? And I think it's a dub. And I'll end it on this, right? And it's cliche, and it's an adage, time tested adage that it's a fact, man. Your best ability is your availability, and if you're not playing, you have no value to the team. And I'm gonna end it on that, man, because that athletic, like, come on, man, we gotta do better.
Right.
Gotta do better.
No, I agree with you. And I think, look, that's why I read that and I was like, I was kind of deciding on what I was going to talk about today. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit about the Super Bowl as well, since there's plenty to talk about there and what happened last night. But I want to bring in Coach Ricks to help us finish up this part of the conversation right now. But welcome into the show, Coach Ricks
What's
from
going on, fellas?
What's up, big
What's going
dog?
on, Big Mike? What's going on?
What's up, man?
Hey,
Hey man,
Mike speaking that gospel. He's speaking that gospel.
hey man.
Well, I had to get my mind right. You know what I mean? With this little white monster.
Well, and like I said, there was something that, I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about. And, I started reading through different stuff last night and I got to that and I thought, it's unbelievable to me the narratives that continue to go around. Now, and it's one thing that, you've got, how it is. We've got these negative Nancy's that are all throughout the fan base. And obviously I think that I've always said that they're the minority of the fan base, but they're still there. And in the end, now, but the guys that like, look, man, I've been a sports writer for the better part of 2 decades. And if you turned in some shit like that back in the day, you lose your fucking job. I mean,
Dude, that's what I'm talking about.
I used to cover Big 12 football. And if I didn't know everything about every team, I wouldn't have made it 10 minutes.
Hey, I want to know who's paying the Athletic to smear Oklahoma. That's what I want to know.
But you know the narrative. If you do
The
that, the fans are
USAID?
going to
Who
respond.
is it?
Well, sometimes negative publicity is the best publicity to some people because they know people are going to go crazy. They're going to respond. They're going to tweet this and that, and it makes them look good. Hate to say that, but it's a bunch of BS and everything. And Jason, as an analyst, man, you have to get shit straight before you just put it out there.
Shit.
I mean,
We're in such a hurry to be the first. Like, we don't even care if the shit is real or not.
well,
Like, I just want to be first.
when you do a piece, you'll write it, take a day
Yeah.
or two off and everything. You don't finish it all, but then things change. But instead of you going back and changing your shit, you'll just still put it out there knowing that half that shit ain't even true. But you still put it out there anyway. And I never understood that and everything, man. Be accurate on your shit and everything because it does tend to offend people. And it's not the correct narrative when you put it out there. So I was laughing at this shit, man, because if Oklahoma didn't make no changes, I could see that. But they made a lot of changes, staff wise as well. So you have to implement that into your article on what's going to happen going forward.
That's why I brought it up. You look at what Arbuckle's done. I mean, you could look at the last 2 years. They were in the top 30, top 20 in every major category that mattered over the last 2 years. And he's got one quarterback that people are actually starting to talk about whether or not Cam is going to be the number one or it's going to be Shador. It's going to be one of the two. And then you've got Mateer, who had 44 touchdowns last year. 44. He had more than anybody in the country. Now, I understand he was playing in the Mountain West for the most part, right? But even if, let's just say you cut it, let's go crazy and say you cut that shit in half.
Okay.
That's still over 20 touchdowns.
Yeah. Look, Jackson was fumbling the ball when nobody was hitting him. So, I mean, I don't know how you compare the two. I think that one's well more elevated than the other one. One hasn't really, I don't want to say he hasn't gotten there yet, but he hasn't the success that he had in high school hasn't matched up with what he has offered or done right now, if that makes sense. So, Mateer coming in, he's done it at high level.
Right.
Now, if Jackson goes to Auburn and doesn't do it, then what's the narrative?
If he goes to Auburn and
Well,
doesn't do it,
hey man, look, I can't say when because I don't know. He might go there and
oh
ball out, but
Lord, yeah, I don't think so.
hey, hey,
Dude, the
I just
dude's
gotta be
hearing
honest, man.
voices and ghosts and shit, tiptoes behind him. The dude has happy feet, and that is a prime example. Look, I don't think it's all his fault. I'm not going to sit here and act like it's all his fault, and I'm not trying to kill the kid, but I'll tell you this: he wasn't good. He wasn't good in a number of games where, look, and the reason that I would tell you that the reason that he looked decent against Alabama is because he threw the ball 11 times. He didn't have to do anything. That was a different game plan, and it worked because look at what we saw the week before that.
Do you guys think that Alabama came in there wanting him to throw and was surprised that they ran the ball so well?
I mean, I don't know how you could come in watch Oklahoma's game and want him to throw the ball anywhere. Like if that was their thought, they all need to be fired because you should have loaded the box
He
and
fumbled
dared him to
every
throw.
game. He had a fumble in every game
Yeah.
that he played at Oklahoma. Every game.
I mean, he just like he was one dimensional.
Except for that one, except for the
He was
Bama
one-
game. He had a
one
fumble in every game. Not always were
He
they.
straight fumbled it and got it back against Alabama one time. But
Did he fumble it against Alabama?
Yeah.
I don't
I think
remember.
he recovered it
He
himself.
recovered it. He
Oh,
recovered it.
that's right.
Yeah.
Tatum was the one that lost his.
Yeah. But like if you expect like Jackson Arnold in Oklahoma to throw the ball, like that's ridiculous. I can't even fathom that. Like watching that and see how all the games played out like that'd be ridiculous. Maybe I need to get into coaching.
Yeah. Listen, it it's just wild to me though. I mean, that you would say they brought in John Mateer, the number 2 overall player in the portal, but that's not enough to make up for everything else.
Yeah, but they're just talking about players. They didn't talk about
Coaches.
You didn't talk about coaching. Like
Oh.
that's a force multiplier. You know what I mean? That's
Absolutely.
not, you know what I mean? That the offensive coordinator and the quarterback are force multipliers. That means that makes everybody better, right? And it has an effect throughout the team.
Absolutely.
And like again, lazy by the Athletic.
Lazy by the Athletic, but a lot lazy by the Athletic. I was just, it blew me away, man. It really did. It blew me away that it would be that little, going into it. They're just trying to throw it together. And yes, they added this, they added that. I mean, when you go back and look at the entirety of what they're talking about, it's like, okay, well, but what else? What else you got? Because I don't see it. I mean, look, even like, and not to badmouth Nick Anderson, right? I don't know what happened there. I love Nick Anderson. I love the Anderson family. Rodney was a bad dude when he was here too. Maybe he was really hurt the whole way through it. I'm not going to sit here and say he wasn't. But I know this. He's been hurt more than he's not been hurt at Oklahoma. He missed most of the first season that he was here as well. Same deal, injuries. He was hurt all last season. How you are going to take that's a net positive that he's a top player and you can expect that for him going to LSU. How do you just expect that they're going to be healthy if they haven't been healthy? Right? Even if it was 1 year, he hasn't been healthy. So they're coming in there and they're saying, "Oh yeah, at LSU he's going to light it up." And maybe he does. But to say that they brought up the fact that, okay, you had either FCS or Group of 5, a bunch of the guys that they brought in. Take a look at Keontez Lewis. Keontez Lewis had a big year last year. So did Giovanni Gibson, had a monster year last year. That, and the things that they do, like the route running that you see from Giovanni, watch his film, folks. Watch his damn film, because that translates. 6'3", running a 4.5 at 215, that translates anywhere you go.
Yep.
And you had another guy in Sategna, he played at Arkansas and had a hell of a year. He only had the one touchdown, but he had over almost 600 yards or whatever it was. I had it up here just a second ago. I'll pull it up right now.
Shit, the one play that sticks out, I probably his only
491 yards. He averaged 13.3.
Dude.
Huh?
I said the what I'm thinking of that one touchdown he had is the play when they say Satani's name is when he went up and mossed that dude.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. 37 receptions, 491, averaging 13.3 a catch. He only had the one touchdown. It was 58 yards. But, man, the dude, and look, let's not act like Arkansas was very fucking good because they weren't. You know, they weren't. And so, but I mean, you know, this is a guy that played in the SEC. He's a player. He's ready to go.
So that athletic article, all they talked about was offense, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. And that's the thing. Why would you be falling when? And they did bring up Deshaun McCullough and how that's not, you know, good for the defense or whatever. But like you're acting like Deshaun was an actual. Look, Deshaun. Being honest about it, Deshaun was never the leader of that defense. The game against Texas, everybody will always remember that because of him having he was basically in on every tackle on that goal line stand, every one of them. And he's a dog. There's no two ways around it. The dude is a dog. I think he's going to be really good if he can stay healthy and not be out of position, kind of like where he was here. Right? In the end, the bottom line is that it's just reality. Look, the dude is he didn't move the needle when it came to that defense, though, this past season. He played in 5 games. He had 17 total tackles, only 10 of them unassisted. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, where's Marvin Jones Jr., you know, stack up in that?
I don't know. I don't know. He was a 5-star. Nobody cares about that shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I just.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, really, if you think about, even though he wasn't, I wouldn't look at, you know, what he did last year at Florida State as earth-shattering or anything like that. He had 5 sacks. You know, he's got to be better than that to be in the NFL. But body-wise, he's a dog. He looks like that guy. Would I take him over Deshaun? Probably. Probably. Just look at it. I mean, he doesn't have a big injury history. Now, he hasn't. Look, you ask the people at Georgia, they're not going to say a lot of good things about him. Right? But he wasn't an edge rusher. Deshaun wasn't a pure edge rusher. That's what he is. And it's not. And here's the other thing. I think that that's an addition to Oklahoma. It could, but it's probably going to be a gravy addition because I think that the guys that you have on the edges, aside from him, are going to. I mean, RSJ, you know, not RSJ. Sorry, R. Mason Thomas, and then of course you've got Danny Okoye is biting at the bit to get in there. We're hearing a lot of good things about PJ putting on weight and looking like a dog right now. Hoping that he stays healthy. He's going to get more of an opportunity, obviously. But you look at Danny Okoye, you look at, I mean, there's a lot of these dudes that just look really good. Hell, I've heard a lot of stuff about Taylor Wine getting after it lately. You know? And that's not even talking about some of the other guys that they got coming in. You know, the defensive line is, I think it's probably one of the best, if not the best in the country.
At least top
defense
interior for sure.
At least top 3 for sure.
Interior wise for sure, but I'm saying the chances are that it could be that all the way up and down that line. I mean, there's so many guys that look like they could be that good, right?
Yeah, we just got to figure out that other side, opposite of RMT, and figure out who that's going to be, and if that person shows up and makes an impact, you could 100% probably give best in the nation to that group up front. You know, shout out Coach Bates and Coach Chavis, man. Dudes are amazing.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, Go ahead, Coach Ricks. I know you're in there kind of chatting it up with them, but give us some of what you're thinking on all that, on all this stuff too.
Well, I mean, no, I was going to answer what that. I mean, it's hard for Sammy to leave Clemson. His dad's on staff. He's not leaving Clemson. I mean, that's no matter how much he loves Wes. I mean, his dad's on staff. I don't know if there was a package deal or what, but he's not going to leave. But there are some things in the works to where Wes is on the East Coast trying to get some guys and everything from different locations and everything, man, to at least take a visit to Oklahoma. We were talking about it a few nights ago at a coach's clinic. My brother-in-law was there, and he was saying that there's going to be some movement here in the next few months with Oklahoma trying to go into some of the backwoods of ACC and get some talent. We got what Man Jr. was that from Florida State that we got.
Yeah, Marvin Jones Jr.
Marvin Jones Jr. There are some more guys and everything, man, that he's looking at. But I think that Wes is not going to be like BV. I don't think he really has that same admiration for Dabo that Brent has, and Brent still has it. Brent still has that
He
love for
does,
Dabo.
but
I don't
he
know.
didn't get fired by Dabo either.
True, and that's why we were talking about it a few nights ago at the coaching clinic because everybody has this Oklahoma thing in their mouth, man, on the East Coast. I don't